it's our journey to know that's taken us from those very humble beginnings.
It continues to point to a gene-environment interaction.
I distinctly remember sitting there thinking, my daughter couldn't read on Monday, and now she can read.
So I'm hosting my own reading challenge.
Formula that we recommend based on the research.
And we called it Lindamood-Bell Learning Processes.
Welcome to the Lindamood-Bell Radio Podcast, where we explore topics in literacy and learning. I'm Dave Hungerford for Lindamood-Bell. Thanks for listening. Since 1986, our learning centers have taught individuals to read, comprehend, and do math to their potential. And now, students can benefit from our unique approach right at school. Lindamood-Bell Academy is a unique private school for students from kindergarten to 12th grade. Students can attend online, in person, or a combination of both. The learning needs of each child are addressed so they are ready to learn, and they do. With year-round enrollment, now is the perfect time to get started. Visit lindamoodbellacademy.com or speak to our admissions team at 800-300-1818. And I'm here today with Dr. Rachel Morgan. Dr. Morgan, good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show. I know that you're the president of the Adam Morgan Foundation, and you're an educational consultant, a certified autism specialist. I want to find out about the Adam Morgan Foundation. Who exactly is Adam Morgan?
Well, Adam Morgan is my son. He is the oldest of four kids. He actually will be turning 17 this Wednesday, and he is definitely the inspiration behind the Adam Morgan Foundation and all the work that we do. The Adam Morgan Foundation is a nonprofit organization here in the St. Louis metro area, and we're really trying to help support families and self-advocates in the area and to be included, not only at school, but in their neighborhood. And as they move through their lifelong journey into even adulthood and competitive employment. And we really focus on true inclusion. And one of our biggest things lately is technology, is making sure that everyone has access to technology to help them find their voice and get access to age-level curriculum, also just in their community on an everyday life.
And you're focusing primarily families who have children on the autism spectrum. Is that correct?
That is actually how we started, but we have branched out a little bit from that because we also have seen a need that there is a lot of people that are on the spectrum or have a different diagnosis that also has co-occurring things going on, especially in the mental health field. So for our Apple a Day program, which we started a couple years ago with providing iPads to people, we have opened that up to not just people with a diagnosis of autism, but other things as well. So we're really trying to make sure that we support the community here, and we do a lot of surveys to find out what the needs are. And we're really trying to make sure that we reach those families in a way that's meaningful to them and really listening to what their needs are currently.
And what is Adam's story, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, no, not at all. Adam actually, when he was born, we kind of knew something was a little bit different. Being our first child, it was a little bit difficult for us as we were going through the learning process. But I had seizure disorder when I was pregnant with him. So he was very much impacted by the medicine that I took. So he has a lot of co-occurring things going on. We actually didn't get his autism diagnosis till he was 3. But he has seizure disorder as well as some other things like periventricular leukomalacia, fetal valproic acid syndrome. So there is some brain damage there as well. But he has done very, very well throughout his educational career. He's a junior now. He is non-speaking, but that definitely does not mean non-thinking. He takes all general education classes, and actually last week was a little stressful for us because he was the first non-speaking student with his school district that took the ACT. So it was a little stressful, but he had all week to do it. And they told me that he did an excellent, excellent job. So we're just waiting on the results now. But he is college bound. He has broken down many barriers. I will tell you our biggest barrier was actually a lack of belief, value, and attitude with the people that were working with him. And he actually is the inspiration and the drive that I had to go back and get my master's and my doctoral degree in education.
And so what was his academic career like in the early grades when he's developing the basic foundations of reading and comprehending? How was that accommodated for him?
Well, early on, we went through some stumbling blocks until actually probably about third or fourth grade when we found the iPad. Technology is really what helped open up the world for him when it came to reading, mathematics, kind of those Common Core type of academics. And we really found that with the access to technology, that is really what opened up. We found out that really he taught himself to read. He's actually taught himself 4 or 5 other languages through watching YouTube and modeling. He definitely likes to watch The Lion King is one of his favorites, but he won't watch it in the traditional format. He actually watches it in other languages. So he's comprehended a lot of other languages. He may not be able to verbally speak them, but he definitely understands them. He also, as far as math goes, he's in Algebra 2 now, and he does everything on the iPad. And he does math in his head, and he can do a full worksheet, but he can't always explain the steps to get there. But when he gets a full worksheet right, it blows the teachers away. So it's really just, he can definitely learn it. It just looks a little bit different than the conventional way and the traditional way of our educational system.
I was never a proponent of show your work in math. If you've got the right answer, you got the right answer.
Well, luckily we have some teachers finally that have bought into that, because middle school was rough. He had a hard time in middle school, and it wasn't his peers. It was really the staff, and I think they meant well. But, because they look at him, they visually see a young man who stems a lot, who flaps his arms, who might vocalize sometimes as well. And they looked at what he couldn't do. And really what we needed was a team of people that took the risk with us as parents and just believed in him. And in high school, he runs his own IEPs and everything. He does all of it. I'm just basically a consultant now, which I absolutely love, and that's the way it should be.
That's great. It's good to be your own advocate. So how does the technology work? Is he, if he has an English class, does he listen to a lecture and then take notes and then send back his thoughts via an application?
That's a great question. Yeah, we've actually found a business app called iAnnotate app. It's a $20 app. It's not very expensive, and a lot of businesses use it. And what we've tried to do is make it so that teachers don't have to spend a lot of extra time for accommodations and modifications, because he can do the age level work. What he needed was space in between his answers so that he could get the motor and the brain working together. So what happens is the teacher will just email him the worksheet that all the other kids get, with some extra added spaces in between questions and answers. And he opens it up in the iAnnotate app, and he can do anything he wants on there. He can swipe his answer if it's multiple choice with his finger. He can type on there. He does have a paraprofessional aide that works with him. He does need a little bit of support at the wrist. It's not much for when he types. But they have found that is the best way to reach him. And really, the teachers don't have a lot of extra added things that they have to do, so it works out beautifully. Nice.
I would imagine there were some years when he, being nonverbal, communication was so limited. What was it like when he found his voice, even if it was through the iPad?
Oh my goodness!
As a parent,
it was amazing. I was actually out in California when he was about in second grade, and I met a young man by the name of Ed.D. And his book had just been released, and it's called Ed.D. in Autism Land. And I read that book on the plane ride back to St. Louis. I cried, I laughed, I had a lot of thoughts going through my head. And I actually came home and I apologized to my son, because I realized after reading that book and listening to, it was one of his very first breakout sessions that he did with his mom. And Ed.D. wasn't in the room a lot because of his anxiety. But after learning from him, I actually, as a mom, realized I was listening to some of the wrong people. The true experts in this field are the ones that live with it. And so I took it to heart, and I went back and I said, you know what? I'm helping all these other families, and I'm sorry, Adam, but part of it is my issue. And I was thinking sometimes, even though I didn't say it as a mom, I would think, I'm not sure Adam could do this. And that's on me. That's something that needed to change within me. And I looked at him and I said, things are going to change today. There is no more not believing in you. You can do anything you want to, and I am going to be your biggest cheerleader. And from that day, we started taking the steps. And shortly after that, we got the iPad. And I let Adam really start leading at that young age of 8, 9 years old, of him leading me into what worked for him. He had to be the one to decide what if technology was going to be the way that worked for him for communication. It wasn't me choosing that for him. I'm finding, as I even went through my master's and my doctoral degree, is really we have to learn from the experts who live with this and find out and engage them, truly engage them. And just because you're non-speaking doesn't mean you can't communicate in another way and be empowered to make those decisions for yourself.
I would imagine we're going to see more and more of the kind of interrelationship between those that are non-speaking and those that do, as the rise in the levels of the diagnosis have just dramatically jumped so much.
Well, and I tell you what, you guys out there in California are kind of leading the charge. There's a new researcher out there at California Lutheran, I believe it is. I don't know exactly where it's located. A new professor out there, I think she's been there for a little while, Dr. Ed.D. Pena, is actually putting a book together, compiling a book of non-speaking students. And she actually put a request for a proposal out all over the world, and she thought she'd get 15 to 20 people. Well, lo and behold, she had over 40. And she, I think, was a little blown away. And Adam's going to be included in that book. We're really happy to announce he put in his 1,000-word autobiography. So he's going to be a published author even before his senior year of high school.
I saw he also has a YouTube page. And
he does. He has a YouTube channel called Tech Talk with Adam Morgan.
You really get a good sense of his personality.
Good. I'm glad.
Would it be okay if we inserted a clip here?
Absolutely. I think that'd be great.
And so, here's a clip from his YouTube page, Adam Morgan's.
I communicate by typing with support. I have to have a constant connection through touch in order for my body to connect with my brain to get my thoughts out. I must have a communication partner that believes in me and how I communicate. How it looks is just different, not wrong. When people think it's my partner typing for me, it hurts. For those that don't believe, I hurt for you because you are missing out on a learning opportunity to change the stigma of people who learn and communicate differently. How someone communicates is not going to impact you directly. It is my right under the law to choose my preferred communication method, not anyone else. Only me. Be open-minded, not judgmental. It doesn't just give you a different perspective, it makes you a better person.
And Joe, I think you get a great sense of who he is, even through the... Is that a British accent that I detect there?
It's funny. He chose that British accent because I wasn't actually the first person he typed with. It was one of his tutors that he had for a long time. He had a little crush on her. And she had told me that, when she found the man that she was going to marry, Adam had to approve of him. And I just kind of laughed at her, but she really meant it. And she found this big rugby player from one of the universities close by that she started dating. And he was from London, England. And she started bringing him by. And Adam did not like him at first. If you'll find out if you look up Adam Morgan's wedding speech, they wanted him to write the wedding speech for their wedding. And it took a while, but he did finally win him over. And Adam approved of the marriage. And so when the wedding speech came about, they wanted him to type something up, and he was okay with that. And they were going to have my daughter read his speech. Well, he wasn't okay with that. He said, no, she's not reading it. I said, well, how do you want to do this? He said, I want the iPad to deliver it in a male voice. I said, okay. So when we were hunting for a male voice and that one came on, he started laughing and he said, that one's it. And ever since then, that's the voice he uses.
That's great.
Pretty funny young man. So he's really enjoying doing that, and has started CrossFit as well. Something else that we're really learning is that, we're looking at autism very differently now. To me, it's not a behavioral or social communication disorder because they want to be social. They want to be included in what's going on, and their behavior is actually communication. And what we're finding is it's a body-brain disconnect because cognitive-wise, he is there. He understands everything. It's getting his body to do what his brain is telling him to do. And that's where the frustration lies. And we're learning with CrossFit that actually, if we're working on that muscle memory, if we put his body in certain positions, for example, a plank. When he was first asked to do a plank, you should have seen the look on his face. And his instructor was laughing because she's like, is he not understanding? I can't tell from his facial expression or what's going on. And he typed, no, I get it. I don't know how to get my 200-pound body to do a plank. And so we physically put his body in that position about 5 times, which killed me, but that's okay. And after that, the body trained the brain, and now he can do it all on his own. So we're really looking at this truly in a different light. And that's what's helping him gain his confidence and really empower him to speak up even more.
It's an interesting parallel. You said he's college bound.
He is. Yes, we are looking at colleges. I applaud a lot of these universities that are putting programs together to get individuals with a diagnosis on campus, living on campus, learning those life skills, but we can do more. This is, a lot of colleges have chancellor's certifications, but to me, it's kind of like a life skills IEP step, and it's a step in the right direction. But Adam wants to get a degree, a real degree. He wants to be a motivational speaker. He wants to be an author. And I tell you what, he's very good in the finance world too. He took personal finance last year and got like a 98% in it with no modification at all. I think he blew the teacher away, but very frugal young man. But no, he's college bound with a real academic degree. And so right now he's leading the charge here in St. Louis. He's looking at some universities, and we're working with Emmaus Homes, which has been around 125 years. They're an independent supported living agency. They do amazing work, but they have never supported a student at the college level. So Adam will be the first. And they're very excited about that innovation.
That's great. Great opportunity.
Yes.
So tell me about the foundation. When did you create that?
Actually, on April 15th, it'll be our 11-year anniversary. And I actually created it. I used to work in the First Steps Early Intervention program, the Birth to 3 program. When my son was little, he got into the First Steps program, and then a month later, I actually got a job there because I realized I knew nothing about this field and I needed to learn quickly. And what happened is when he turned 3 and moved from the First Steps Early Intervention program into the school age program, all of his supports in the home fell off. And so my husband and I talked, that's when we actually started the Adam Morgan Foundation to help get supports in the home, to kind of continue that, to help that transition for families as they move from early intervention, which is a very natural environment type of supported agency, into the school age, where it's about the child and how it impacts them in the school, and helping families kind of transition and continue some of those supports in the home.
So have you been helping families in the primarily St. Louis metro area?
Yes, we're still small. So yeah, we do in the St. Louis Metro. We are starting to expand a little bit more and doing a few things statewide now. But yes, we are still small. We would love to help out, more as we grow, and that is the plan, to be able to do that. We've given out a little over 200 iPads. We started in the St. Charles and St. Louis kind of county areas, and now we've opened up to St. Louis Metro to include some of Illinois and some of the southern and western borders as well.
So presumably you have a web page people could check and communicate with you?
Absolutely. Our web page is www.amf-stl.com. People can also call us 636-922-4800 as well. We do a little bit of consulting over the phone. We try to help out as much as we can. We do have a educational consulting side of the business called Consultants for Community. My business partner and I are internationally certified autism specialists through IBCCES, and we are training partners with them. We do travel to other states and can put on professional development. And we really bring in, I think, a fresh new perspective when it comes to professional development for parents, for educators, support agencies, self-advocates. We really personalize and customize all of our trainings. And what we do is we pre-survey everybody before they come to one of our trainings to find out what they already know, what they want to know, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and really pull them in and engage them before we even do the training.
So you've worked with teachers and parents?
Yes, absolutely. We can do individualized services as well. But the bulk of the consulting business is professional development. We like to have a diverse group in the room. We've had paraprofessionals here, parents, educators, adult agencies, because we really are a proponent for sending a consistent message. Sometimes we hear, well, who is this training for? Is it just for parents? Because some people send maybe a different message to parents than they would to educators. And I think that sometimes that can be confusing and can cause miscommunication. So our thought process is we should be able to have open conversations. I know this is a tough conversation when you're dealing with special education supports and services, but we all need to be on the same page and need to be an active participant.
How would you kind of boil down or synthesize your mission, the foundation?
I think that our mission really looks at inclusion for all and making sure that we define inclusion and that we're all on the same page. When I did my doctoral research, that's one of the biggest barriers to people being included, whether it's in school or in their community, is that we have a different definition of inclusion. And to me, inclusion is not sharing oxygen or being there and doing something different than other people are. It's not just being asked to come, but it's actually joining in on what's going on with everybody else. It's to be fully included, to have access to age-level curriculum. If you're an adult, it's to have access to competitive employment so that we can empower them and so that they can live the fulfilled life and really go after the dreams that they want to accomplish.
Are you finding school districts are receptive to that message?
Yes, I think they are. I think they find that when we come into work with them, we're not out to get them. We're really not. We're not about, pounding our fists on the table or being combative. It's really about how can we problem solve and work together. More doesn't always equate to better. Let's find out what the best fit is. It's not about creating more work for people. It's about lessening the load. It's about engaging the students. It's about empowering students to be in charge of their life and in charge of their education and moving forward together as a team that has the same mindset and really building those trusting relationships. That's the key to having the open communication and true inclusion.
That's great. And you have a conference coming up in the area.
Yes, we do in a little over 2 weeks. It's our first annual Adam Morgan Foundation conference, and we are actually bringing in Dr. Thomas Armstrong from California, actually. He is the big guru on neurodiversity, and I actually really prefer that term over disability anyway. I think the term neurodiversity is so much more positive. But it also kind of brings people in because it makes them think, because a lot of people haven't heard that term before and they want to know more, which I think is great because that gives people kind of more of that engagement component when somebody's talking about a term that they're just not used to hearing. So Dr. Thomas Armstrong, he's written over 16 books. He has another new one that he's launching here soon. He's going to be our keynote. And his focus, if you read any of his books, is all on strengths, abilities, and talents of people. So he's going to be leading the charge for our conference. We have about 6 self-advocates, which my son included is going to be speaking on how they've broken down barriers to all of their successes, as well as we have very innovative things going on here in St. Louis. We have somebody, Todd Streff, that just opened up the new Skills Center, which is all on competitive employment. It just opened in January, so he's going to be giving people opportunities to come and learn about how they are accessing competitive employment for people with a diagnosis. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not just for autism. As well as we have people coming in about rapid prompting method, which is one of the new types of interventions that a lot of people haven't heard of.
I haven't heard of that. What is that?
Yes, rapid prompting method is out of Texas, actually. Soma, and I do not know how to say her last name, started it with her son Tito. And it's for a lot of individuals who are non-speaking to gain access to age-level curriculum. And so it's a type of therapy that helps them use technology or a letterboard to communicate. And it's really helping the body and the brain work together. So it kind of looks at that brain-body disconnect in helping people learn how to be a typer, an independent typer. They start off with some support, and then they move forward. And it's really becoming the new wave of the future of helping people who are non-speaking be a part of their communities, whether it's in the education or the competitive employment. And that's what Edo Kadar used, and a lot of these self-advocates that you see popping up that do communicate differently.
It's something that probably those of us that don't have to think about the communication as much don't think about the physicality of producing
Yes.
Communication as much as, say, your son and those others have to work with.
What I have found too, it kind of dawned on me a few years ago. If you look at technology and what it has done to us as a society, it's really made us socialize differently. And if you look at people with autism, what is the biggest difference for them? They socialize differently, not less, just different. And in my opinion, if you really look at technology and the innovation of it, people with autism had a huge hand in creating and innovating technology. And I really think, because you look at Silicon Valley, they actually call themselves Aspie World out there, Asperger's World. And you guys in California had the insurance covered for autism interventions out there first. And so Google and Microsoft are specifically looking for people with autism to code for them because they know how. So in my opinion, people with autism have brought us into their world and leveled the playing field with technology and didn't tell anybody. And I just, when I tell people that, they're like, oh my God, you're right. So why aren't we using technology to reach people on the autism spectrum or with other diagnoses as well? Because it's working with them too. This, in my opinion, really isn't a cognitive issue. It's just how can we reach them? They're in there. How can we reach them to pull all of that greatness out of them? And that's what technology has done. That's what some of these alternative ways of communication has done. And it's opening up a whole new world, not just for our loved ones, but for our communities, because I think it benefits them as well. So.
Does he have peers at his school setting that are also non-communicative?
He does. There are some other students.
I should say non-communicative, non-verbal.
Yes. Yeah, we actually even just use the word non-speaking because his non-verbals are actually very good. But yes, there are some other students that are non-speaking. Not all of them are on the path that Adam is, but Adam has helped some of his peers get out of the segregated classrooms and start taking age-level curriculum, which has been great. So he's kind of been a leader there. But with being in the general education classes, the peers find it very fascinating how he communicates, and he will type with several of his peers. He's been to prom. He participates in football games, and he was part of the homecoming last year and went out to the coin toss with the captains. And I mean, they've embraced him and just love, having him there and being a part of the community. And we've just had a really good high school experience.
That's great. I hope we get to the point where stories like Adam's are not outliers. That's the norm.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's starting to change. And as a parent, you always want it to move faster, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So you just take it a day at a time. And yes, we have our struggles at times, but we feel very fortunate that we have a great team up at his school that really does truly include him. And I mean, he's a leader. He's on the principals council up there, and which is a small group of kids that were invited to be a part of that to help others be included as well, no matter what the situation is. So they do a good job up at the school. I'm very proud of all the hard work everybody's put in.
That's great. Well, tell me a little bit more about the conference. We moved away from that a little bit. How about just some of the details? How would we find out about it and to attend?
Well, actually, if you go to our website, everything is online, which is great. You can register for the conference on our website at www.amf-stl.com. Everything is there. You can come for one day. You can come for both days. We do have... And
when is it? Exactly the dates?
It is on Wednesday and Thursday, April 24th and 25th. So it'll be 2 weeks from this Wednesday. And it's a great 2-day conference. We have 23 speakers for our breakout sessions. all different types of things. We have someone, a lawyer coming who's actually on our board, who's going to be talking about alternatives to guardianship, which I think is very important. We talk about taking someone's full guardianship, but we don't talk about the alternatives. A lot of parents don't realize there is alternatives, and you don't have to go for that full guardianship. They also don't understand the ramifications of doing that right off the bat, and that you can start with the least restrictive mode instead of going right to that. Plus, it's very expensive. So she's going to be really focused on that. In 20 years of practice, she's only done one full guardianship, which I applaud her, because she has really gone out of her way to have those conversations with parents and make sure that that is the right thing to do. Because when you do it, you can't turn back. It's pretty much a done deal. It's hard to undo that. So we have that. We have somebody talking about the ABLE Act here, which are alternatives to saving money for your loved one. So, we encourage extended family to come, grandparents, aunts and uncles, because, I'll tell you as a parent, it's really hard to have some of these conversations with, my extended family, because a lot of my extended family lives out of state. So when they come visit, it can be awkward at times with certain conversations. So I think it's good. We don't have a lot of conferences out there that invite those people, those important loved ones, to come hear from experts or self-advocates so they can hear the message as well. And we actually do have some scholarships for extended family to attend, which is not provided for a lot of conferences too. So they can reach out to me on our website or email me at rmorgan@cfc-stl.com. And there's ways to get in contact with us if you do go to the website as well, to look into those options for scholarships.
I think we have a mutual colleague speaking there as well.
Jen Metzger, yes, from Lindamood-Bell. You're right. She is going to be coming and speaking too. And I think she's going to bring a very unique perspective of being a mom, and an expert on the professional side too. We love when we have speakers like that who can kind of wear a dual hat. And she's our center director in the office we have in the St. Louis area. So she will be one of our breakout speakers as well. And we're just looking forward to a great conference in really making sure that this is an innovative one. So that's one of our big goals, is we want to make sure that we're bringing the freshest, newest perspectives to our area. Great. Well, we know firsthand that this is a lot of logistical work. You start off theme-based, and then you end up worrying about parking spaces and very small details. So I wish you the best on that. Yes. And I really want to thank you for joining me today. Maybe let's give that web page one more time. Someone's late. Great. Yes. Adam Morgan Foundation is www.amf-stl.com. And I appreciate you having us on, and we look forward to having all you guys out there come to the conference. Great. Well, wish you the best in the next couple of weeks, and wish Adam the best on his journey, and excited for him to get ready for college next year. That's a huge step. Yes, that's going to be awesome. Thank you. And I want to thank you for listening to the Lindamood-Bell Radio Podcast. If you like what you've heard, rate us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Lindamood-Bell on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We are Lindamood-Bell Learning Processes.